The sacking of Maurizio Sarri didn't come as much of a surprise, as this 9th consecutive Serie A title for Juventus felt lackluster in comparison to previous seasons. What did surprise us, however, was the man who was put in charge in his wake. Hey, I'm Adrian and welcome to Rabona TV, where today we'll look at Andrea Pirlo's appointment as Juventus manager. If you find yourself enjoying this video and want to find us easily in the future, then just hit that subscribe button and you'll always be able to find your way back to us. In this video, we're going through a lot. We'll see what he's been doing with his retirement, why Juve has chosen to go with him instead of Sarri, and muse as to what we could expect from Pirlo as a manager by looking at him as a player, a student of the game, comparing his climb to that of Guardiola and Zidane, and what previous managers have said of his ability as a coach amongst players in the past. Andrea Pirlo is a bona fide legend of Juventus, having won 4 titles in a row with them as a player, a Coppa Italia, and plenty of individual honors along the way, as he cemented his place as one of the best deep-lying playmakers in world football, making the regista fashionable for many. His final moments with Juventus as a player were spent in Berlin, losing the 2015 UEFA Champions League final to FC Barcelona, before he took off to New York to play in the MLS for a couple of seasons. But upon his retirement, Pirlo returned to Italy to work as a pundit with Sky Sports Italia. But with a football brain such as his, with the reputation of being the intelligence or the thinking man of those great AC Milan and Juventus midfields, the idea of Pirlo returning to football in some capacity never went away. And sure enough, he registered with the FIGC, or the Italian Football Federation's coaching school at Coverciano, Florence. Plenty of Pirlo's contemporaries have passed through the doors here on their way to receiving their coaching licenses, something Pirlo won't actually receive until October upon completing his thesis. The director of this Italian coaching school, Renzo Olivieri, says that an emphasis on tactics is what made Italians Italians, who they were in the past, but going forward, they are all about adapting while still holding on to a bit of their identity. In speaking to Cano Football, Olivieri said, quote, "We've made errors in recent times. Following the 2006 World Cup win, we thought we were the professors. Then Spain won in 2010 with their short, patient style, and people tried to copy that. 4 years later, Germany were the best with quick, aggressive, and direct football, and that was imitated here. We lost our principles, and so we put a stop to it. We said, let's calm down. We can learn from others and mix it in with our character, but we are Italian and want to remain Italian." Olivieri has been there throughout Pirlo's time at Coverciano, and he recently shed some light on what kind of student he was when speaking to Calcio Mercato. Quote, "He is careful, sharp, and is also analyzing possible tools for the future of football. Pirlo is someone who looks ahead, always precise, someone who wasn't always there to write everything down on the paper. He listens to everything and thinks, then writes down only the things he considers important." Okay, so that's good to know. He was a good student, but that won't necessarily guarantee it will translate to his ability as a coach, will it? Olivieri thinks he stands a good shot of being a great coach, as he went further, quote, "Andrea Pirlo is currently one of the most profound connoisseurs of football in the world. I'm talking about technical knowledge as a coach. I'm not referring to those acquired on the pitch as a footballer. That's another thing completely and doesn't offer a guarantee of success. Pirlo is a scholar, one who has deepened his knowledge of the subject. He's ready." Following Juve securing their 9th consecutive Serie A title, Juventus also announced that Andrea Pirlo would be taking the reins of Juve's under-23 side for the upcoming season. At the press conference, when asked about Juve's recent league triumph, Andrea Agnelli congratulated everyone involved, Pavel Nedved, the various directors, and the squad, but he never mentioned any sort of congratulations to Maurizio Sarri. In hindsight, this omission should have told us a lot more than it did at the time. Later on, ahead of Juve's match against Lyon, Sarri was asked about whether he knew if his fate was tied to this Champions League campaign, to which he got aggravated, naturally, and said, quote, "I think you're making our directors out to be amateurs with a question like that. Directors at the highest level don't make decisions based on a single incident or the outcome of our last game. Our directors will have already made their decision. If the decision is to change, they will make it irrespective of tomorrow's result. If it's the continuation of an idea, they will make it irrespective of tomorrow's results. By asking that question, you're saying our directors are like fans and let their emotions guide them." Now, this line of thinking and explanation actually shows that Sarri probably knew he was going to be sacked at the conclusion of the season no matter what happened. The conversation had been had already. His celebrations were subdued when Juve won the Serie A, something he'd been working towards for so long after quitting his job at the bank to pursue coaching, and perhaps this is why. Plus, upon sacking Sarri and appointing Pirlo, Fabio Paratici spoke to Sky Sports Italia and said, quote, "We had already made our evaluations before the Lyon result. We had already said, one game does not decide the future of a coach. Our evaluations were based on the whole season and not just a single match." You can see the parallels between what he said and what Sarri said. Both Sarri and Paratici echoed the sentiment that the decision was not made upon a single result and stressed that it would be a decision based on the entirety of the season, not just the Lyon match. A season where Sarri's Juve were eliminated from the Champions League by the 7th place Ligue 1 side, lost the Supercoppa to Lazio, lost the Coppa Italia to Napoli, won the Scudetto by a single point when all was said and done after losing 7 matches in a single season. I mean, just as a side note, Antonio Conte only ever lost 5 Serie A matches in his 99 Serie A matches in charge of Juventus. It was uninspiring stuff, some of which of course can be pinned on the board, some on the squad, and some on Sarri. But to replace Sarri with someone who has no experience in coaching, to overlook a side as big as Juve, is that crazy? At the time of announcing Pirlo, it did feel a bit crazy, but admittedly, at least to me, I'll speak for myself, the only thing that seemed crazy about it was the fact that Pirlo has no experience in coaching so far. After Pirlo was announced as the successor to Sarri, plenty of quotes started to come out of the woodwork from various professionals. As a side note, during a live stream when I was asked about it, not that I'm a professional by any means, of course, but an easy parallel to draw was how I thought that Juve were trying to capture some of that magic that Barcelona did in appointing Pep Guardiola, a Barca man through and through, or how Real Madrid found success in appointing a true Real Madrid man in Zinedine Zidane. Perhaps Juve were trying to catch that lightning in the bottle. All three were the thinking men of the midfield at their respective clubs, and in the case of Zidane and Pirlo, the strong silent type that demands the respect of those around them, no matter the reputation of the player. But another parallel that Gabriele Marcotti drew up, which is of course speculative, was how Zidane became a quote, Ronaldo whisperer after Ronaldo and Benitez's relationship was fraught, and perhaps Juve are hoping that they will get the same out of Pirlo. As Marcotti points out, just as Zidane's appointment in 2016 hinged upon his relationship with Cristiano Ronaldo and the belief that he could best harness the Real Madrid number 7's talents, after some decidedly stormy moments under Benitez, so too is the choice about the Portuguese superstar. It couldn't be otherwise. He has 2 years left on a contract, which, when you factor in wages and amortization, will cost Juve some $185 million. And while that is an interesting take and certainly is just a piece of what Marcotti had to say about the entire situation, which along with everything else is linked below with my sources as per usual, Pirlo's appointment makes much more sense by just simply looking at the type of player he was. What can we expect from him? Adriano Galliani, whom Pirlo will know very well from their time at AC Milan together, had this to say of Pirlo's appointment, quote, "He was already a coach when he was playing. If I had to use one word to define Andrea, it would be intelligent. He was always studying. He studied the opponents, the places we were playing, the situations. I am sure he'll do very well at Juventus." And so given the state of Juve's midfield and the amount of work that it needs, having someone who has made a career of pulling the strings from deep within the midfield isn't a bad idea. He certainly has some knowledge to share, especially if he was coaching throughout his career, as many of the emerging quotes from those he's associated with in the past will have you believe. This sentiment was echoed by Paratici himself when he said, quote, "The decision for Pirlo was very natural in the Juventus style. We also believe he is destined for greatness. He was as a player, and we think with confidence he can do the same as a coach." Andrea has in his mind the same approach to coaching as he does when he played. That's football of great quality and hard work. He wants to propose a certain type of football, the kind European teams are generally trying to follow, and he was very convincing in his explanation to us. The person is often more important than the professional, so we had no doubts on Pirlo as a person. This move is an interesting one as well, due to the fact that while it is a risk in some regards, it also buys the Juve board some time. Just as we have seen at Manchester United, in appointing a club legend like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they appointed someone who will be afforded much more leeway if results aren't going as they had hoped. The fans will be more understanding and less inclined to boo Pirlo off of the pitch, as they know that this is a new era for Juventus, and they wouldn't want to wrong a former player of theirs. This is a man that understands the club through and through. He knows what it takes to be successful with this club, and perhaps that's something that has been lost on the squad lately. Plus, in regards to the new era, Juve have won plenty of Serie A titles lately, and not that their focus will move away from that, but if their results take a slight hit in exchange for strides forward in player development and recruitment, a clear identity in regards to style, and a coach that they can build upon, then now is as good a time as any to take this first step. The fans will be more understanding. And finally, as far as a playing style goes, I mean, who knows? He could surprise us all, but again, he's a guy who liked to have the ball at his feet and will likely impose that on his team as well to play a possession-heavy style. The chairman of the Italian Football Managers Association, Renzo Olivieri, was asked again by Calciomercato as to how he thought Pirlo would have Juventus play. Olivieri said that he thought he would adapt his playing style in order to get the best out of the players at his disposal, as opposed to trying to enforce a system that isn't necessarily suited to his personnel, which of course is one of the main teachings at Coverciano. The absence of this has been a big criticism of Sarri in the past few years, seen as far too stubborn to adapt to his players. In following this, Pirlo would indeed be following in the footsteps of Zidane, who adapted his system to get the best out of the star-studded Real Madrid side that won 4 Champions League titles in 5 years. Similarly, Carlo Ancelotti was known for this, someone Pirlo played under and admired. If he can strike a balance between those two, he'll have a great career, but only time will tell. Because, once again, as of now, we can only guess as to what a Juventus side under Pirlo's tutelage will look like. There are rumblings that with Sarri leaving and Pirlo taking over, Jorginho no longer being pursued, instead shifting focus to the next Pirlo in Sandro Tonali, naturally. Regardless, it's an interesting and exciting time to be a Juventus fan. With Pirlo arriving, there will hopefully be a sense of enthusiasm around the squad with a clearer tactical approach that maximizes their potential, as opposed to giving the air of a team that's just going through the motions with a lack of creativity and an over-reliance on individual brilliance. That's all for this one though. If you enjoyed this video, then a like is appreciated and a subscription even more so. I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and we'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.